All right, finals here from the sixth MGM in Berlin, der andere Spieleladen, the location of choice. We see Lucas on the left side. We saw Luca from the semifinals winning against Karl Florian with his version of Jeskai. And on the right side, Justus, we saw from the quarterfinals, also with Jeskai, but a different version.
Right. It's
What?
crunch time,
Yeah.
folks.
What do you think? Which version is better for this?
I kind of like the combo version here. I mean, there will be very many similar cards, the same cards on both sides. Luca just has this additional strategic option of comboing, which Justus has to fear or at least respect. And it's not that Pestomite and Deceiver Exarch are particularly bad in this matchup. They can like tap double blue mana end of turn, prevent a counterspell or something like that. So I think the edge is on Luca a little bit.
Yeah, you also see, maybe you remember from modern or some games, even if the combo isn't there, it's still in your mind.
Hmm.
You still don't want to lose. Maybe you don't tap out, and that's some advantage you have for just playing the cards.
Right.
Both
Well, both hands interesting. Both hands, I think, clear keeps.
we see a Grim Lavamancer and a Mirren Crusader, both cards that are very good cards if you don't handle them very soon. Also, speaking of cards, which you should handle very soon, the Mentor, of course, making
Yes.
infinite number of little monks, and the Jays also. So we see a lot of threats, but we don't see a lot of answers except for the one Grim Lavamancer and the counterspells.
That's true. But there is, I mean, this matchup isn't the fastest. So there will be the one drop Grim Lavamancer, but that just doesn't run away with the game usually. And the two drops are good, but as we already stated, a Jace is not necessarily a game. I think this will be quite an attrition-y game.
Yeah, you see now with the Lavamancer in play, Justus almost can play any creatures because it's very easy that the Lavamancer will be turned on by another fetch land, maybe a card like Luca actually has, a Thought Scour.
But he drew an Is a Charm, which is an answer to the Lavamancer.
Ooh, very nice. Is it Charm here? The perfect card.
And a
Uh,
council's judgment on top. So he is loading up with removal. The one thing he was lacking, as you stated,
yeah, which is good. Always drawing what you need. It's a
right?
good choice of playing.
It's
We
a good
see the
habit to get into, right?
yes.
Just draw good, man. Why didn't you
The-
draw good?
yeah, how do you keep winning? Well, you just draw good. The Pestamite here, also being on top from the scry, and that's
Flash
one part
creatures,
of the.
yeah, it's one part of the combo, and flash creatures always appreciated in a blue matchup.
It's also, although it's easy to kill, you don't really want to use your removal for those. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you see you have to have a removal for the Lavamancer, you have to have a removal for the Mirror Crusader because that hits for 4 each turn. And
Mm.
then how many removal do you have left? It's
Right.
it's not that many, and it's not high on the priority list, at least as not as long as you have the combo like waiting around. But uh, it still hits for 2 every turn.
You certainly do not want to like tap out for Council's Judgment on a Pestamite. That just seems very wrong, and you won't do that. And because of that, Pestamite will like hit you for 6 or 8. I can see
Yeah.
that.
Um, Also, Nahiri as a card that might hit the battlefield very soon, especially if the Pestamite is tapping something like a blue source.
This will be
And
interesting this turn right now. Hold on. I think Eustace might be. Oh no, wait. Luca is playing the Pestamite on his draw step or upkeep.
yeah,
So now what will happen is, oh wait, Eustace just cannot have counter mana available.
yeah, the only option would have been to miscalculate the Pestamite, which I actually pretty like here
Mm.
because then it's at least gone, so you don't have to be afraid. It doesn't deal you damage, and miscalculation has some form of being worse later in the game.
Right, and here is Nahiri, I think. I thought the turn would play out a little bit differently, like Luca wouldn't play the Pestamite, just waited on it, and Justus might have played his Temple tapped, and then Pestamite would have come down end of turn, tapping his counter mana, or maybe forcing a miscalculation. But like the outcome is the same. He has free reign to drop his Nahiri, and this is part of Pestamite's. Well, I think it's Pestamite's work that he can do this. And there you see how really impactful these cards can be even on their own.
Yeah, and of course Pestamite is a nicer card because it has one more power. But Deceiver Exarch is also pretty good because sometimes it just blocks very good.
Right.
So,
1/4 is hard to kill. You usually have to use a very hard removal on it.
Yeah, and here Nahiri is very alive, but the Council's Judgment is one of the few cards that can actually remove her from the battlefield. Otherwise, letting Nahiri ultimate in like 2 turns would be so devastating.
That would be game. But then again, Luca just has the advantage here because he's ahead on the board. So Justus is basically forced to Council's Judgment, which lets Luca again untap and without in fear of being countered, and can maybe deploy his Pyromancer and Thoughtscour into something else, make a token, so he again has 5 power on the board, and that could be a quick game from there on, but we will see.
Yeah, Justus' hand is clearly better if you just would look at all the cards.
If you give him all the time in the world, his hand would win against Luca, but maybe he can force the tempo enough to run away with it.
Yeah, imagine a Pestamite wasn't there. Like, he could have just countered the Nahiri, be able to be untapped now, maybe play a Seeker, counter something else. And just because of the Pestamite, he's always one step behind, at least now and maybe for the next 1 or 2 turns.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. And the Jace here would be a good card because it might be able to stop at least some of the damage, but Luca drew the Stagger Shock, and that's not only killing the Jace, it's also making a token and dealing 2 to Justus. Wow.
And if Justus chooses to deploy another 2-drop, which he might. Yes. Oh.
No, he just...
No, he counters the Stagger Shock, excuse me, right, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you just keep the counter spell open.
Yeah. It's safer, and you're not under the immediate pressure to act on the board. You have to do it soon, but not right now.
A goblin with flying. So now, let's say nothing very extreme happens. Justus gets attacked, probably takes 4 damage. Would you block here the token?
Yeah, I guess you do.
There's not much that deals 1 damage. There might be, because you play the Thoughtscour now anyway, you probably should cast it before attacking. Because if you find something like a Lightning Bolt that kills the Jace, you deal 1 extra point of damage.
Yeah, I don't. There's no advantage to keep it hidden until after attacks. So I think that was a slight misstep, but
there's a pretty hard aim. Well,
misstep might get a little bit bigger depending on what he finds here.
Well, at least you get a lot of tokens out of the deal.
Right.
Very strong. You can only hope that there's maybe something like a Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God, somewhere in the top cards of Justus' deck.
Now with Memory Lapse in hand, I think it just basically has to be Supreme Verdict. Otherwise, this will be kind of hard to get out of.
Well, you can still maybe find like a land and a Wrath, so you can just counterspell back.
Right.
You could also, maybe it's just enough to play a Mentor, because then you still have the counterspell backup. You can take a few more damage, make the Jace flip, so that means you take like 4 damage from the Pestamite or the Pyromancer and 2 tokens. So that's actually pretty close.
Yeah, you're right. The Mentor could stabilize the board with counter backup. Yeah,
and if if you play the Seeker maybe a turn after and find one spell, it has lifelink, so there's a lot that can happen from this point on, depending on what other draws. Of course, if Luca just draws one very good card, like any Planeswalker, basically, maybe a Treasure Cruise, then the game gets sealed.
No, we're nearing the pivotal turn. I think there's a decision in a very near future, I think.
So, Justus shuffling here, fetching for land, untap. What's the draw? It's a Spell Pierce. Okay. Not super exciting, but it is a cheap spell. Here, Jace loots, discarding probably the Hallowed Fountain that he just drew.
Probably. You won't gas in this situation, I think. There is an argument to discarding the lifelinker. So you have Seeker of the Way, right? So you have Mentor with double counter backup.
That means you would go to 6.
Right.
Because you have to play the Hallowed Fountain untapped, which is not lethal, but very dangerous. Although, I mean, you have two counter spells. So
is Jace flipping this turn?
We unfortunately can't really see the graveyard, but I think maybe there's just not much going on. Like there should be, I think, 2 fetch lands and a miscalculation, and maybe that's only it.
Yeah, we will see. Let's just wait and see what's the line. Okay, the land is the discard.
Oh, it doesn't flip. Yeah, that actually makes it.
Okay, that makes sense, yes.
It flips.
Oh, it flips. That makes sense too, I guess.
Yeah, I was saying that if it doesn't flip, it looks much worse.
Yeah.
So
he can handle the Pestomite quite nicely with this. And has the Monastery Mentor for blocks. Or maybe even the lifelinker and the double counter. Let's see what he prefers.
Yeah, he goes for the Seeker, which is very understandable.
It's a little bit... it's a more scared play.
True.
In a way.
Here, actually, it's very nice because the Spell Pierce now hits exactly the point where it does something very efficient. Yeah, this doesn't trigger. But it even doesn't matter.
Yeah, and he has a counter spell up. So this is a good position now.
So now actually, there's one spell you can let your opponent draw because you have a counter spell. And with untapping, it gets really dangerous. Because then you can, let's assume nothing happens. You just play a Mentor, then your spells not only give you about 3 life, they also make a token, and that will be very short.
Yeah, you can just basically hang on and just answer everything, or try to answer everything that Luca tries to bring to the table, and let the Mentor do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, there's also the option of flashbacking the Council's Judgment.
Or the Izzet Charm.
Yeah, so that's the cards that we were missing for the flip argument. There's a fetch land, not really exciting, but I think that Justus was pretty happy with the situation as it is right now and everything.
I think the land that Luca draw is the much worse draw than the land that Justus draw.
Yeah.
It drew. Yeah.
So now we see a flashback probably for the Izzet Charm. Yeah. And now you have some choices. Like you can actually look for cards. Like if you want to get like maybe a card that makes life, you can play the Mentor before and also get a token.
You can get rid of that Wooded Foothills with the cycle.
Yeah, which also gives you 3 life from the Seeker of the Way. But on the other side, it makes you a bit defenseless. So
I think the traditional line, if you so will, is to just kill off the Pyromancer. Oh, he goes for the flyer. Okay.
Well, he goes probably for the Pestame because now he's stepping out and he thinks one of the only ways of losing this game now would be if there's uh, combo waiting in form of Splinter Twin or Kiki.
True.
So he guesses that the Pyromancer won't be any danger anymore. And that it's interesting because in those matchups there's so many small decisions. Like you could just play the Mentor and say go, which is less aggressive but a bit more safe. You don't get the life and stuff. Now you can use this line, which is also appealing because it just ends the game faster.
Yeah, I think very many of these decisions just come down to like your intuition, like those little things that just pull you in a direction you cannot even exactly tell what it was. Maybe it's just the experience of like 100 games in the matchup where you just have this this notion that this move is usually better than this move. I can't exactly tell why, but it is like it is, and that's really hard to pin down.
It's if you have like a chess game, then you have a situation where you're not sure and you can specifically calculate which move would be the best. But in Magic, you have so many unknown stuff, like every
Yes.
draw step and even cards your opponent plays. Like even if you know the list, it's so complicated.
Cards are
And
random. You can't calculate for them exactly. You just have to have the probabilities, and that makes it hard, right?
exactly, and even if you could estimate it, it would just be so close most of the time. So I mean, that's basically why we like the game so much because
Yeah,
it's
that
it's
little
so.
bit of randomness is
Yeah.
just all the spice.
And now we see the attack. Luca basically down to drawing anything that cannot be countered, like an obliterate or something.
He took a few too many lands from the top of his library. There was this point where he was pretty good into this game, even ahead, I would say.
Mhm.
But as we mentioned, Justus' hand was better quality-wise, and he couldn't run away with the tempo advantage he had.
And I guess Justus deck is also a bit more streamlined for the longer games.
Might be.
So
He might have a little bit of a higher single card quality because he issues the combo.
yeah, I think we see here like a Moonlight Hello, the land that makes spirits. Is that true?
Oh, that would be interesting. It's a
Uh,
cool land.
Here we see the judge pointing out that they're playing too fast,
Okay.
and
Maybe was some kind of miscommunication regarding the chain lightning or something like that.
yeah, and of course, if both players are not sure where they are in the game, uh, the judges make sure that you can just go to the point where both players agree,
Right.
fix the situation so both are happy, and then move on. Chain Lightning is a complicated card. Yeah, you pay like mana, and then your opponent has your chance to pay again, and
Yeah. And basically what we saw is chain lightning just clearing the board of everything. Interesting.
yeah, Justus decided to pay the mana to kill the token,
Uh-huh.
and that's a bit awkward because you trade in the process for your other good creature.
Okay, it's a one mana Wrath of God, I guess. Sweet.
That sounds appealing. But there's also the point that now the Moonlight Hello makes 1/1 spirits every turn. It's a land from Innistrad, and Innistrad had some very good utility lands, this one being the blue-white one, letting you exile a creature from your graveyard to get a 1/1 spirit. And that's very, very good. If your game is to answer your opponent's threats and you have some mana over to make token, that's
It's pretty good. I think we see it a little bit too seldomly in Highlander. It's a very potent card, I think.
and lands they do have the cost of making colorless mana, especially those lands that have a nice ability. But on the other hand, they have not the cost of being a card that you draw and it's empty. Like, for example, if Luca draws this card right now, it would do something. And uh, there's some cards where you really want to have this low cost abilities. The Jace getting ready to maybe flash backing another spell. maybe having the Council's Judgment back up from the graveyard. And yeah, apropos Council's Judgment.
I think we will see a counterspell answering this attempt of getting rid of Jace.
Yeah, you want to protect your only threat on the board, even though it's not really a threat, but it's something that makes your game better than your opponents.
And you can sense that Luca is on air, that his last card is most likely a land.
Ooh, Ojutai's command here to draw. Not only able to get the Jace back in case it should die, you can also counter a spell, maybe give you life if your opponent draws something absurd like a Fiery Confluence that would actually be lethal.
Does it counter any spell or just a creature spell?
Only creature spells, but you can gain 4 life.
Yeah.
So you have the mode of drawing a card, gaining 4 life, returning a creature that has a converted mana cost of 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and counter the creature spell. And here we see one of the nicest thing to say, okay, draw a card.
I cycle this, gain 4.
Gain 4. Also a card that's very good on turn 4 as well as turn 14.
Right.
We see spells there, not good on turn 14.
No, the opposite. Although it gets to get his stays in the spotlight right here.
Is there a deck construction point of not playing so many spells that have restrictions?
Yeah, I think I personally don't like those spell snare cards that much, and I try to circumvent it if possible. Like, if I'm having a deck that has maybe access to black, I'd much rather have the discard spells than the spell snare. Although they have similar problems, but I think they are a little bit broader in their application. But I think Jeskai is a little bit lacking in 1-drops, so it has to go for this spell snare.
Wow, we see the Ojutai's command coming back with the Jace ability, and the Abbot, which we thought would be handled, is just back in the game.
Right.
And now there should be a Wrath, there is no Wrath. That's game 1-0 for Justus.
That Grim Lavamancer might have been a little bit offensive, but he gets the game.